and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. Now, a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and Free TV. Now, the news in full. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has reaffirmed the National Assembly's commitment to supporting the federal government's economic reform program through legislation that advances the Renewed Hope agenda. Abbas gave the assurance at a public hearing organized by the House Committee on Commerce on the 13th bill, saying the House would continue to enact laws that promote a stronger, more productive and globally competitive Nigerian economy. According to him, the House would also provide the legislative framework and oversight required to translate the administration's economic version into measurable gains for businesses, investors, and ordinary Nigerians. The House of Representatives Committee investigating the operations of the controversial Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council has directed the Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Diso, to produce the self-acclaimed Director General of the organization, Adeyemi Adeniyi, before it on Wednesday. The directive was issued during the resumed investigative hearing at the National Assembly Complex, Abuja. Representing the IG Assistant Commissioner of Police, Bashir Abdullahi, appeared before the committee and was instructed to ensure Adeyemi's appearance by noon on Wednesday to assist lawmakers in their ongoing investigation into the activities of the organization. The Senate and the House have started moves to harmonize the differences in the state police bill they passed. The version passed by the House of Representatives seeks to remove the president and governors as chairman and members of the National Police Council. The House version is intended to prevent any compromise on council's integrity. The House is proposing that the chairman and members of the council be appointed by the president, subject to confirmation by the National Assembly. Still on the news, the federal government says it has intensified efforts to curb wastage, payroll leakages, and insufficiency in the public service with the rollout of the full human resource models of the Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System, IPPIS, an indigenous digital platform that automates personal management across 508 ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs. Launching the platform in Abuja, the head of civil servants of the Federation, DD Esther Wilson-Jack, describes it as a major milestone in the federal government's digital transformation agenda and a key pillar of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Renewed Hope reforms. She says the platform will transform the information system from a payroll system into a comprehensive human capital management solution that covers recruitment, onboarding, promotions, transfers, leave administration, payroll, workforce, analytic, and employee self-service. The Federal Capital Territory FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has warned contractors handling various roads and infrastructure projects across the territory against delaying execution or attempting to shift goalposts. Speaking during an inspection tour of ongoing road projects in Abuja, the minister declared that the FCT administration would not tolerate any laxity, emphasizing that public trust in the present administration was built on promises made and promises fulfilled. Wike maintained that the mandate of the current administration is far from over, stressing that project delivery must remain on fast track until the end of the administration's first tenure. The Nigerian Air Force NAV has successfully completed the factory acceptance test for the first batch of 3 M346 fighter attack aircraft at Leonardo Aircraft Division facility in Italy. This is contained in a statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ehime Ejodame, at the NAV headquarters in Abuja. The exercise marked the successful conclusion of all contractor acceptance requirements ahead of the aircraft's delivery to Nigeria. The All Progressive Congress (APC) has recorded a major political gain in Sokoto State following the defection of thousands of supporters of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) in Gaur town. The defectors were formally received at the rally attended by APC leaders, stakeholders, and supporters who described the development as further evidence of the party's growing acceptance and confidence in the administration of Governor Ahmed Aliyu Sokoto. The mass defection, which took place in Garau Takakume ward of Gorunyo local government area, is seen as a significant setback for the ADC in Sokoto East Senatorial District, coming from the constituency of one of the party's prominent elected officials. The convicted leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOD, Nnamdi Kanu, has formally terminated the services of his longtime personal lawyer, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, directing him to cease representing him, his family, or the group in any capacity. In a letter from the Sokoto Correctional Center, Kanu stated that Ejiofor's engagement had earlier been ended verbally, noting that the latest correspondence serves as a formal written confirmation. Kanu also withdrew any authority previously granted to Ejiofor to act on his behalf of IPOD, insisting that the lawyer no longer has any express, implied, or ostensible mandate to represent or speak for the organization. The Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has condemned the abduction of Justice Faruku Hassan Bunza of Kebbi State High Court, describing it as a direct attack on the judiciary, the administration of justice, and the rule of law. The association called for the judge's immediate and unconditional release, urging security agencies to deploy every available resource to secure his freedom. Now, in a statement issued by its president, Afam Osigwe San, the association says the abduction of the serving judicial officer from his residence in Buza local government area of Kebbi State was a dangerous assault on Nigeria's justice system. The All-Nigerian Conference of Principals of Secondary Schools through Area Learning Centers has directed all principals in the 20 local government areas of the state to ensure that all schools are closed down with effect until further notice. This directive follows the persistent killing and abduction in Sokoto State, neighboring Zamfara State. A confidential memo titled Urgent and Confidential Notice to All Principals states that schools in Sokoto State, Sokoto South, Sokoto North, and selected schools in Wamako and Denge Shuni local government areas will continue to operate and are exempted from the closure. No fewer than 30 persons, including women and children, were killed when suspected bandits attacked Norodom community of Karu local government area of Kaduna State. The attackers were said to have stormed the community, opening fire on residents and operating for more than 3 hours, leaving scores dead, houses and shops razed, and many others traumatized. Residents called on security agencies and Kaduna State government to intensify efforts to protect lives and property across the community and other parts of Karu local government area that have suffered repeated attacks by armed groups. You are watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. News Cycle continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign, and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Thanks for joining us. Let's begin along the coast where it's going to be another very wet day. Delta, Bayelsa, Rivers, some parts of Akwa Ibom and Cross River should prepare for persistent moderate to heavy rainfall lasting through much of the day. Some locations could receive up to about 100 millimeters of rain, significantly increasing the risk of flooding, especially in low-lying and flood-prone communities. Across the southwest, including Lagos, Ogun, and parts of Ondo, expect a quieter start with light morning showers before the rainfall gradually intensify into moderate afternoon rains. Meanwhile, we are closely monitoring a developing weather system over Plateau area, where it is expected to strengthen and track westwards through the Federal Capital Territory and extending into parts of Kwara, Niger, and Kebbi states during the early hours of Monday. At the same time, isolated moderate showers are also possible over parts of Kaduna, Taraba, and Adamawa State. By late evening, weather activity is expected to increase across much of the northern and central region of the country, with thunderstorms becoming more widespread as we head into the night. And that's your weather forecast for Monday. Thank you for watching.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is News Cycle on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, the federal government has expressed deep concern of the escalating hostilities between the Houthis in Yemen and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, warning that any disruption to investigation in the Red Sea could severely affect global oil supplies, maritime trade, and the world economy. Speaking at the press briefing in Abuja, the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimebi Ebenfa, says Nigeria remained neutral in the conflict but urged all parties to embrace dialogue and diplomacy to prevent further escalation. Ebenfa says the latest tensions in the Red Sea, coming amid the unresolved disruptions in the south of Hormuz and the prolonged Russia-Ukraine conflict, pose serious risk to global energy security and international conference. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Olayemi Cardoso, and the Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, will headline the 7th African Emerging Markets Forum in Abuja as policymakers, economists, and business leaders gather to discuss how African economics can withstand growing global economic and uncertainty. The two-day forum, which is organized by the Central Bank of Nigeria in partnership with the Emerging Markets Forum and the Center for the Study of Economics of Africa, is expected to bring together senior government officials, central bankers, development institutions, private sector executives, and scholars from across Africa and other parts of the world to examine policy options for strengthening the continent's economics. The Rural Electrification Agency says Nigeria has attracted nearly $2 billion in renewable energy investments over the past 2 years. Delivering a keynote on behalf of the Managing Director, Abba Aliyu, the agency's Executive Director, Corporate Services, Boyega Ayoade, says Nigeria's decarbonization agenda must move beyond environmental targets to become a driver of economic competitiveness, electricity access, and industrial transformation. Now, the agency warned that the country's energy transition will fall short of its economic potential unless it translates those investments into local manufacturing, skilled jobs, and industrial development. On the foreign scene, hundreds of opposition supporters and civil society activists have gathered in southern Togo to protest constitutional reforms. They say they have entrenched President Faure hold on power. The demonstration comes amid growing political tensions over changes adopted in 2024. Mukhtar Kasim has more.
Traditional prayers and songs opened the rally in the town of Vogan as opposition leaders, political activists, and supporters gathered to voice their opposition to Togo's revised constitution. Protesters carried banners and placards calling for the restoration of constitutional order, insisting the 2024 reforms undermine democratic governance and weaken the will of the people. Opposition figures addressed the crowd, urging citizens to remain united and continue demanding political reforms through peaceful means. Demonstrators argued that the constitutional changes have further consolidated President Faure Gnabry's grip on power while calling for a return to the country's previous constitutional framework. Throughout the gathering, supporters sang patriotic songs, waved banners, and listened to speeches from political and civil society leaders who described the rally as part of a broader campaign for democratic accountability. The demonstrations ended peacefully with cultural performances and renewed calls for dialogue and reforms as protesters vowed to continue pressing for constitutional changes through lawful and non-violent actions. Mukhtar Kasim, Global TV News.
More foreign news now. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for the immediate removal of all sanctions imposed on Syria during the era of former President Bashar al-Assad. The UN chief, who made the appeal during a visit to Damascus, the first by a United Nations Secretary General since 2009, urged international community to step up support for the country's recovery after years of conflict. Again, Mukhtar Qasim reports.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says Syria has reached a critical turning point and requires urgent international support to rebuild its economy, restore public services, and help millions of displaced people return home. Speaking at the end of a two-day visit to Damascus, Guterres welcomed recent moves to ease sanctions, but insisted that all remaining sanctions and restrictions should be immediately lifted to unlock Syria's recovery and reconstruction.
The United Nations stands with the people of Syria at this pivotal moment. And I am carrying the strongest possible appeal to the international community, appeal to spare no effort to support the Syrian people and to support the Syrian government. Syria today is at the crossroads.
Syria's new authorities, who assumed power after the fall of Bashar al-Assad in December 2024, are seeking international backing to rebuild a country devastated by more than 13 years of civil war, with the World Bank estimating reconstruction costs at about $216 billion. During his visit, Guterres met President Ahmed al-Shahra, senior government officials, civil society groups, and UN peacekeepers in the Golan Heights, while also visiting the notorious Sednaya prison, long associated with abuses under the previous administration.
Syria needs investment in its people, its economy, and its institutions. Syria needs support to restore essential services, rebuild infrastructure, revive livelihoods for the safe, voluntary, and dignified return of refugees and internally displaced people. And Syria needs development partners and international financial institutions to re-engage in ways that help unlock the country's economic potential and reconnect Syria to regional and global economic life.
The UN chief also urged international financial institutions and development partners to re-engage with Syria, while stressing the need for safeguarding the country's sovereignty and supporting an inclusive political transition that reflects its diverse communities. For millions of Syrians displaced by years of conflict, the success of these efforts could determine whether the country finally moves forward from war towards lasting peace and recovery. Mukhtar Qasim, Global TV News.
In sports news now, Team Nigeria's Ruth Asukwo fought back brilliantly to win silver medal in the women's 48 kg weightlifting event at the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games on Sunday. After finishing third in the snatch with a personal best of 75 kg, Asukwo missed her first two clean and jerk attempts at 93 kg. With everything on the line, she eventually nailed the lift on her final attempt to secure the silver medal. Asukwo finished with a total of 168 kg, with India's Mirabel Chanuk claiming the gold, while Malaysia's Irene Henry claimed bronze. Team Nigeria now has a total of 7 medals, comprising of 3 gold and 4 silver, and are third in the medals table. Nigeria at the weekend put up a commanding performance to win 1 gold, 5 silver, and 1 bronze to claim a total of 6 medals at the just concluded African Archery Championship in Oran, Algeria, to register her best international performance in archery. This impressive display of skills just a few months after the country's brilliant outing at the last Continental Championships in Cote d'Ivoire has not only consolidated Nigeria's growing rise in the game of archery globally, but has once again proven that the country is indeed a force to be reckoned with in archery sports. Now that's it on News Cycle. Here's a quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276 and Free TV. Now kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @GlobalTVNG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good evening.